Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our panel, Who's Taking Care of Mom, hosted by Om Life, Become Fit Forever, and Village Childcare Experts, LLC. My name is Christelle Lugo. I am the Chief Legal Officer for Village, and I am also your moderator for this evening. Now let's meet our panelists.
Hi, my name is Anand Sikadia.
I'm Dugmari from Become Fit Forever.
And I'm not Casey. I know you were promised Casey. Unfortunately, she had an emergency tonight. So I'm Mike. I am the co-founder of Village, and I'm going to be filling in for her to the best of my ability.
Thank you all. Now, let's dive right in, shall we? Time, energy, and love. Those are three reasons and three resources that parents have to give to their children. While love may be infinite, we know that time and energy, unfortunately in this day and age in particular, are not infinite. So we're going to explore how parents can use these resources, specifically time and energy, to care for their children, and how time and energy can be enhanced and can be refreshed and optimally used through self-care. All right, now let's start off with a question for Dugmari and for Anand. Please describe self-care as you would to a Martian.
Okay. So before, I thought self-care was just going to a spa sometime. But then I realized that self-care is the practice of prioritizing behaviors that are going to make you feel good. And that can be from having a good breakfast to go to a spa like on life, right? Mm-hmm. So all those behaviors that make you feel good so you can be productive and you can be a happy human being.
Okay, wonderful.
Amazing. So I'm assuming that these Martians can speak English first.
Great assumption. Excellent.
So my version of self-care, or my definition, is self-care is actually self-love. Is loving yourself enough to make the consistent efforts and investment of time and energy into long-term health. And you're going to benefit from the present moment when you're making these efforts, as well as the long term as well.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm sure those Martians are going to learn a lot if they come here. So the opposite of self-care, in theory, would then be creating stress for yourself. So Dugmari, and even Anand, if you would like to chime in, from a parent's perspective, and you, a new parent, right? Is it fair to say that what parents experience as stress is their body and their mind not quite having enough energy to do everything they feel that they need to do?
For sure. For sure. And I think that is like the pandemic right now, is that everyone is stressed. You go to the doctor for one reason and they're like, I think you're stressed. Your cortisol levels are up. So what is that? You're not investing enough time taking care of yourself. And as a parent, when you are not taking care of yourself, you're going to show up in a bad mood. You're not going to be in a positive attitude every day. You're not going to be a loving parent because you're exhausted. You're tired. So in order, not to show up like that, definitely we need to look into those healthier behaviors of taking care of ourselves, which I can say it easily, but definitely it's not an easy practice.
Very true. Very true.
So I think that stress is really hard to avoid in this day and age, right? We have environmental stress, we have physical stress, pain, we have emotional stress, relationship stress, career stress. You can't avoid it. And if you look at human beings, we're just a microcosm of everything that happens in nature, right? So it's just an energy of disharmony. So in nature, when there's a disharmonic thing that happens, nature will self-correct because it has all the tools to do that. With humans, we actually need to figure out tools or learn ways in which we can get back into harmony. So from the cortisol perspective, right, it acts as a poison in our body, and then we can't be as energetic. So we need to have the right coping mechanisms, because eventually stress will eat us alive if we're not handling it. Right? So with stress, you have to be proactive about attacking the stress before the stress starts attacking you. And people cope with stress in many different ways. Alcohol, binge eating, those are negative ways in doing it. positive ways is exercise, eating right, meditation, yoga, things like that, self-care techniques that can actually attack the stress before it starts hurting you.
Okay. Yes, and the energy of disharmony, I feel, is a really good tagline for COVID, right? Energy of disharmony for all of us here.
I know.
Mike, can you elaborate, please, on how you see that stress manifests as an objective observer involved in caring for children?
Yeah, one of the interesting things about being a data scientist and running a parent coaching business is that when you end up studying parents a lot and seeing their behaviors and seeing what happens, and like you said, right, I see it from the objective lens of not actually being a parent in that situation. And I think, children are sponges, and they see what their parents are doing, and they're going to model that behavior. And either an explicit behavior or something that is part of who they are, part of how they live their life. So when children see that stress, that anxiety in their parents, it's something that they will see and they will reflect in their own behavior. And I think, as we're talking about here tonight, focusing on how you can reduce that stress and how you can give yourself that energy back is a very important thing for your children to see.
Okay. Anand, and possibly Dugmari, can you talk a little bit about how balance and imbalance perhaps impacts more substantially the mind and the body?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're out of balance, it's hard for us to come to a place of making decisions that are positive or correct. When we're reactive to certain things that happen, then we're just trying to figure out how to get back into balance. When we're already balanced, now we're making empowered decisions, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to shift a little bit to the benefits of self-care. So Dugmari and Anand, could you elaborate on the benefits of self-care as that relates to energy?
Yeah. So the way I see it is society has imposed, especially to women who are most of the time the primary care for the kids, that you have to be everything for them, and you are always the last in the list. You have what I call the garbage list in your mind. That is like, oh, you have to take care of the gift for the birthday parties on the weekend. You have to take care of is crazy hair at school? And all these little things are consuming your life. And then you're always the last one in the list. I work with thousands of women, and they feel guilty when they need to take care of themselves just by taking a warm shower, which is self-care, right? Like that is like the minimum that we would like to do for ourselves. Just going to the gym for 15 minutes, they feel guilty. So if you're not having these little behaviors through the day, how are you gonna get energized to take care of a family? And then it's also a beautiful thing, and we said this a lot, and I have said it before, if you don't take care of yourself, how are you gonna take care of the kids? But also, you just need to take care of yourself because you deserve it as a human being. That is the bare minimum for you, right? Like just to eat right, to exercise, to be calm, just so you can take decisions, so you can have energy just to face all the challenges that you have during the day. That actually there are a lot, especially when you're a parent. You realize that you were on vacation before. You were on vacation before, and now it's like, okay, so how do I manage my time so I can have enough energy for everything that I have to face during the day?
And I would imagine that guilt that you're talking about is also another source of stress, another thing consuming the finite energy that moms, parents have to give.
Yeah, and then they don't have energy at the end of the day. So is that guilt? It's like, okay, I'm going to prepare a beautiful, I don't know if you have seen all over social media, these lunch boxes, like you take cucumbers with stars and all these shapes, and then you just eat the leftovers. Why is that? You have no energy left. So you are pouring all your love and all your energy to your family, which is a beautiful thing, and thank God you are doing it. But how can we prioritize just taking some time for ourselves and say, you know what, I deserve those cucumber stars too. Like I deserve a pretty plate for myself, just to sit down and enjoy with your family. And sometimes that takes a couple of minutes more. It's bigger in our heads. That's always what I say when you go to therapy and you talk about any type of issues. When you talk it out loud and when you take action, it wasn't actually a lot of time, or it wasn't a big of a problem. It was just, simple actions. So I think that is the main issue. I see it every day.
That is, I have to remember the bigger in our heads things. Just on a personal level, I'm always in court. I'm always doing a lot of things running around for my job, and I always make working out bigger in my head.
Bigger.
15 minutes isn't going to.
Yeah, I always say
break a day.
the hardest part is just getting your sneakers in. Yeah. Once you are there, just show up for 10 minutes and see what happens.
Right.
More probably you're gonna stay for at least 30 minutes. And you're not gonna regret it. You're gonna regret not going.
Exactly. Always. Every time. All right. Thank you. I will remember that.
Yes.
All right. Anand, can you talk about the difference between wellness as we understand it and what the Western world considers to be medicine?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'm considered an expert in this because just from a family perspective, I grew up in a family of doctors. So my parents were doctors, and then I got to see the other side. The Eastern perspective is Ayurvedic medicine. My sister was an Ayurvedic doctor. So I got to see the different approaches towards the medicine and health, right? One is reactive, the allopathic route, which is nothing wrong with that. If I break my leg, I'm going to go to a doctor to fix it. But then there's the holistic side of it, and that's more proactive. So taking the time and energy to get the body in balance before something actually happens. So when I look at it as like, okay, if you go to two different places, if you go to a really nice, relaxing spa versus going to a hospital, what are the different feelings that you get when you walk into a spa versus going to a hospital? Does it raise your cortisol levels or does it lower your cortisol levels, right? So these are the questions we want to ask. And at the end of the day, in terms of just the financial part of it, we're going to be paying for our health one way or another. We're either going to pay to be proactive about our health and really raise our immunity, raise our energy levels in a positive, empowering way, or we're going to wait till something happens, and then something, there's going to be a lot more expensive with the medical bills, medicines that we're probably going to be on the rest of our lives. So that's what I'll say is like, yeah, make sure that whatever investment you make is going to be an empowered investment in your life.
Yeah, and I think also we know that we're going to die at some point, but that is not the worst part. It's how we age, because you want to have a healthy. When you are getting old, you want to be healthy. You don't want to be sick. And that is like most of the cases are that you're not taking care of yourself and then you are sick for the last 20, 30 years. You don't want that. If you want, people think it's like, oh, I'm gonna get old and then die. No, you're gonna get sick for many, many years if you don't take care of yourself right now.
Right.
Yeah.
The quality is very
the quality of the life that you're going to have. Yeah.
And giving credit, as going back to what your point was, giving credit to if you're walking into a spa versus when you're walking into a hospital, we ignore those emotions. We're trained here in this country, at least, to ignore those emotions as being meaningless, but they are important. There's an impact. There's a reason why our bodies are reacting that way. Let's pay attention to quality and the emotions.
Yeah.
All right. So now, both of you, would you be able to tell us or give us a couple of simple, quick self-care techniques that parents can easily work into their everyday lives?
Yeah, so as a new dad, only three weeks now. So
and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so blessed. So when we started talking about doing this panel, I was preparing. This was prior to being a dad, and then after being a dad, it's a whole different story because I have to really value my time and having little pockets of time to really make sure that I'm not wasting any time. So I think the first part of it is understanding where our time is going and seeing what are the priorities, what are the nice to haves, and then also what is the waste of time. So to remove those waste of times, now we're freeing up a little bit more time. And you can get a lot done in a few minutes, right? You can do an exercise technique or routine in 10 minutes. You can go for a walk for 15 minutes. But one of the concepts I'd like to talk about is time stacking or self-care stacking, where you're doing multiple things to benefit you in just the same amount of time, right? So if you're going for a walk, you're getting sunlight, you're breathing fresh air. Maybe you can actually do some active breathing during that time. You can sit down, do a meditation for 10 minutes, just have some silence, listen to some positive things. So you're really doing in 10 minutes what you could be doing in 40 minutes if you're doing all those things separately. So net time is really important, just making sure you're spending the quality of time, the quality of your life, the quality of time you're spending, rather than trying to figure out how many things I can do in one day just to get it done. That also causes stress when we feel like it's overwhelming when we don't have a lot of time. So that's some of the things we can do.
Time is relative, right? We give time to the things that we really care about. We give time to our kids, to our job, etc. So I see it as, like you can have little appointments for yourself, because you're not going to leave a friend hanging. You're going to show up if you tell them, hey, I'm going to see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. You're going to show up. When you have a flight, you show up for that flight even if it's like at 5 a.m., right? So the same thing, and you have to love yourself so much, and we go back to your definition of self-love, that you're going to show up for yourself. You cannot let yourself down. That is what I say all the time. If you block it out in your calendar, just make sure that you show up. Just block it in your calendar. That is one of the things that I said that is simple but effective. The other thing is meal planning. If you're not nurturing yourself properly, there is no way you're going to have even the energy to show up for those 10 minutes of workout. Right. So you need to nurture yourself properly. There's a lot of information in internet about it. A lot of people know what to do, but then they have the meal plan in their head. It's like, oh, I'm going to prepare chicken soup and sandwich. We just have to take all those things out of our garbage list, write it down, share it with your family, and make it a family thing. As a mom, always we take all of that as our own thing. Eating is something that all of us do in the house. So we can sit down, you can write a draft and kind of like discuss it with your family and say, everyone agrees with this, and make it simple. So one of the things for meal planning that I use with my clients that they like it a lot is having themes when they are meal planning. So for example, you have 4 weeks in a month. So let's say every Monday is gonna be burgers. So one Monday is gonna be chicken burger, then the other Monday is gonna be vegetarian burger, black bean burger, and the other one is gonna be salmon burger, for example. And then the other one is gonna be meat burger. So you just have themes, it's easier and it's fun for everyone. Then Tuesday is gonna be Taco Tuesday. You guys, your American invented this, so it's perfect. You can do vegetarian tacos. So Taco Tuesday is a thing. And then you can pick depending on, what your family liked. And then Friday is pizza for everyone, but then you can make themes for the pizza, everyone put the topping. So my advice for moms out there and for dads is just to include the family on all these activities and don't take it as an obligation for yourself. Because lastly, as Mike was saying at the beginning, kids are sponges and they need that to restructure their own family. My daughter was telling me, it's like, this is a good practice when I go to college, I know how to meal plan.
Yeah.
So don't see that it's like, this is an obligation that I have to do and I have to do everything on my own. No, when you have to work out with your kids.
Yeah.
They need some movement so they can go to sleep super tired. You need that too. So it's a whole family taking a hike together. So those are simple tips because you're seeing it as your, and then of course, go to a spa. I went to the flotation therapy and I'm recharged as a parent.
Okay.
So definitely doing that.
And if I can, I want to piggyback on something you were saying there. And I feel like a lot of parents are going to fight me on this one, but children really do like participating in chores in the household. Children are really oftentimes looking to have control over their lives. And there's so many decisions that are made for them, so many things that they're told, this is what you're going to do now, that their minds kind of rebel against that. And they feel that lack of control. So by having them participate in the things in their lives, it gives them a sense of being a part of the community of the household. And especially something like meal planning, if the child has worked on that meal, when it comes to time to sit down and eat,
They're gonna
eat that food, right? So you're saving yourself time in meal planning. You're saving yourself, not having, you have an extra little set of hands there to help you. And then you're also avoiding that conversation at the dinner table about getting them to eat.
Exactly. I suffer a lot because I didn't participate on any of that. And then as an adult, I have to learn all these skills that we should be learning as kids. Meal planning, finances, right? Like taxes. Oh my God, we hate that.
That time of year.
Yes, we're there.
That's right.
But those are skills, and self-care too. So when your kid sees you going to the gym, he's like, oh, I want to go to the gym. So my daughter, when I go to work out, she loves the Peloton bike. It has music, it's fun. So it's something that is normal. It's normal for us. So I think we're seen as something taboo, different, and something that we have to do, like the taxes. Like kids don't do taxes. But
I wish my 3-week-old could do my taxes.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be a new thing that we work on as children
right,
accountants.
right. But the rest of the things are just skills. It's the way to live. It's just a way to live, and we just teach them by doing, not by telling them what to do.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the benefit stacking, the accountability, the meal plan with the themes, all of those are wonderful ideas. I'm just wondering if there are any longer solutions or longer term solutions or more heavy lifting solutions that you can also present to our viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just to go piggyback on her is like if you're incorporating all of these things into your life so that your kids are now incorporated into it, your spouse is incorporated into it. This way it keeps it easy, right? You don't want everyone going in different directions. You want everybody working together and kind of harmonizing in that. So the first thing is, and I'll take this from Tony Robbins, is if it's not measured, it's not real. And if it's not scheduled, it's not real. So we need to track what we're doing to make sure that we're staying consistent on something, whatever modality we choose. And then we also need to schedule it, as she said. And it's so important. If you're not going to schedule it, then you're always going to think, oh, I'll do it this time or when time frees up. But no, we need to be proactive about it. So, Om Life Wellness, my business, we've been open for 6 years, and we have all these self-care modalities. And we have so many parents coming through, like Doug Marie, and they're telling us after a session of an hour, we do several different modalities. One is flotation therapy, one is infrared saunas for detoxification, one is cold plunges. A lot of people love doing those for energizing the body. And our latest thing is the energy enhancement system, which is the most mind-blowing experience you'll ever have, where it's raising your cellular voltage. So we have so many different modalities. I've spent 10 years trying to find the best ones to bring them in. But going back to the point, we have so many parents coming in, they're scheduling these things, becoming members, and deciding, okay, they're booking months out in advance, it's on the schedule, and somebody's going to cover for them whatever they need. So what I would suggest is find partners that are going to come with you, friends or a spouse that are going to come with you to do the self-care. Or if you can't find anyone to do that, hey, can you trade with somebody else? Hey, my friend over here, can you watch my kids while I schedule this? Next week, I'll take care of your kids and you go and do the self-care. So it's almost like, where it's like it takes a village, right? Everybody's helping each other out. And don't be afraid of asking for help, right? Yeah. That's what, I was always told this during our pregnancy. My wife and so many people came to us and say, how can I help you? Mike would always say, hey, can I go to Costco for you? I'm there every week, right? So it's just people are willing to help, and it's not to be too quiet about it or asking for help. Everybody wants to help you out. So
yeah. No, and one thing I want to remind to all of us is that it takes practice. It takes practice to remind you every day that you deserve to take care of yourself with those little things. Just serving your plate, just scheduling the things for your workouts, for your spa day, even having a coffee with a friend. Like the social connection. As new parents, we become isolated. I suffered that for almost a year, right? I didn't have any friends when I moved to Jersey City, and I was with my daughter. So I was alone with her until I found my village. I started going to Zumba classes. Now that Zumba teacher is my business partner. Mm-hmm. And I still run the obstacle race with some of those moms. Like you start building a community. So social connections is really important as accountability. So if you find yourself, and after this discussion, you go, it's like, okay, so I'm gonna do self-care right now. If after a couple of weeks you don't get it, just find accountability. Find a trainer, find a nutritionist. You can hire me. Find a friend, a community, because we think that we can do it alone, but it is really hard because we have a lot of things on our list. So holding yourself accountable with social connections and with the communities, and just reminding yourself that this takes practice. It's not overnight. Every day you have to set a reminder to do that.
And yeah, I was going to add a couple things there, but I think what you're describing about community and having the people around you that you can count on, your village, as human beings, we are dependent on other people at every stage of our lives, right? You watch a gazelle get up and run 2 minutes being after born. That's not us. We take years and years to work to learn the skills from our parents, to learn the skills from our community and people around us. But I think it is very tempting, especially when it comes to parenting, to try and take that all on yourself. And to feel, we say the phrase, it takes a village all the time. You hear it everywhere. But it's something where in society, we also kind of tell women in particular that if you can't take care of your kid on your own, you're failing. That's not how we were built to work. We were built to rely on the people around us, to count on our neighbors, to count on our friends, to count on our family, to be there to support us. So what you're saying really resonates with what we talk about a village and just our whole ethos as a company. But the other thing that I would add to your question, or going back here about sort of longer time commitment things you can do, and this is something I would recommend to any parent, is to sit down with your partner. If you have a partner, sit down with your partner and actively talk about how you're trying to parent, what you want to do. And the best way to do it is with a village expert. I will have to say that. But that reflective time, there's an element of self-care in that. There's an element of looking back at, this is what happened today, this is what we did, this is what worked, this is what didn't. And you build and you learn from that.
So this, just based off of what you're talking about, and you already touched on it, I believe, but parents, I can hear them saying, okay, all of this talk is lovely, it's wonderful, it's very aspirational, but who has time for any of this? So would you be able to describe some of those common time sinks that plague parents?
Yeah, I think that, parenting is, of course, a full-time job, but there are things that take longer, or take up extra time that it's an unnecessary expenditure of time. So, when you have the meltdowns, of course they happen, they're always going to happen, but you can prepare for them ahead of time. And so much of it comes down to communicating with your child and giving them the language to express what they're feeling and communicating with them in a language that they're feeling. But that, time spent in a meltdown, that's 15, 30 minutes that you could have prevented. Not every time, of course, not every time, because kids are kids, but you can prevent that. And you have the bedtime routine. Is that something that you have as efficient as you want, as you need it to be? So really, what a lot of this comes down to, and what you were talking about with health really resonates here, is that idea of being proactive. And investing the time up front to parent with a plan, so that when these things come up, you're not reacting, but you have a plan of how you're going to handle them, how you're going to go through. And usually when you do that, you can either avoid the thing in the first place, or you can get through it a lot faster and get back to the happy child that you love.
Yeah.
Now, there's a phrase that I've heard a lot, just in proximity with village, give yourself grace. When I say that, what does that mean to you in this context?
Yeah. So one of the things that we want our experts to always tell parents when they're talking to them is about the mistakes that they've made and the times when they haven't been perfect, the times when, a meltdown has gotten out of hand. And these things, it happens. That's life, and that is, what did you say, the disharmony?
Energy of disharmony.
Energy of disharmony, yes. That is the energy of disharmony that resonates throughout the world that we live in. It happens. But what's important is to remind yourself that it's okay that this happens, that you can recover, that you can get back up and keep going. And giving yourself that time to feel, okay, I messed up today. Or, yes, we're talking about having a schedule and sticking to it, getting your 15 minutes. But don't let you missing your 15 minutes today prevent you from from not doing it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's the all or nothing mentality. Especially this generation have been suffering because we grew up with that you needed to be perfect. So the all or nothing mentality, you didn't have the 15 minutes, but you have other decisions to take through the day, right? So you didn't get the exercise, but maybe you can go and take a walk with your kid, or maybe you can drink more water. Okay, I didn't work out, but I can drink water, or I can have more protein in the next meal that I had, right? I can have a piece of fruit with my kid when we're snacking, because it's hard with the time. Right. So just to give grace and practice not having the all or nothing mentality, which I think is the worst part, because it brings you to a phase of guilt, because you weren't perfect, but we are not, and we're just humans trying to do our best, right, every day.
100%. That's why I always mess up with my tracking my calories or going to the gym. Other
nothing.
So I give up.
Yes.
Yeah, and being compassionate to yourself as you would your best friend, right? What would you tell your best friend if they said, "Oh, I didn't get everything done today"? Hey, you're doing great. Yeah, a little bit of effort is better than no effort, right? You don't have to be 10 out of 10. You don't have to be perfect every day. But we hold ourselves to a level where we can't really fulfill that, that possibility. So.
Yeah.
And as we talk about children, modeling the behavior that they see and learning from their parents, understanding that it is okay to make a mistake, but this is how you handle it. You don't get frustrated. You stand up and you keep going. That's something that children internalize and learn. And so this is yet another way that by taking care of yourself, you're actually saving yourself time down the line, because your child and children are going to model that behavior.
Now, thank you. Going back to schedules and routines and the value in that, would either of you like to give some thoughts on where parents can efficiently incorporate into those schedules, into those busy schedules, some self-care routines? Do you have any thoughts on times of day when that would be, or within whatever the schedule is?
Yeah, of course. In our programs, we work with habit stacking.
Okay.
That is the way to go. Usually, when we want to start a new routine, we just want to do everything at the same time, and then that's how we quit. 4 days after, trying to become a new person, like in January, everyone wants to be like, right. I don't know where the new yous are, right? Like in January, it's like February. New year, new me. And that's why people quit, right? Because you want to become a new person overnight. So psychologically, that doesn't work that way. So what we recommend is habit stacking, and this is how it works. So, as natural as brushing your teeth. So after brushing your teeth, what are you going to do? What other habit are you going to stack in there? So maybe after brushing your teeth, you're going to do a stretch routine of 5 minutes, right? Because that habit is already set up in your mind, in your routine. If you don't know how are you going to get the 10,000 steps, right? Like the famous 10,000 steps. Well, you have to drop off your kid at school or daycare. So right after, you can go and walk for 10 minutes. You don't need to walk for an hour. Same thing, after you're having lunch, you have, like about 15 minutes, go for a walk. So it's just setting those habits and stacking them with something that is already happening in your routine. So that is the way you build new habits and you build this new practice of self-care. It's just by doing that. And then you do that one habit every week until you have it like, oh, this is so natural for me. Then you include a new habit. So first, okay, we're gonna go for a walk, and then after the walk, maybe I get enough energy and motivated, and then I can go for a workout after that. So it's always stacking with something that already happens. In my case, I drop my kid off, I go to my workout immediately. I don't go to, so I wake up and I wear my gym clothes immediately. Because if I get my sweatpants or I get comfy to work, forget it, it's not gonna happen. So that is my clothes that I wear at the beginning. I drop my kid off, I go to my workout, and then I go to my apartment. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen. So you need to understand how is your routine so you can start stacking the habits. And another practice is writing down how is your ideal day, right? And it's that practice of visualizing, because if you don't know how is your ideal day, how are you gonna have it, right? So it's writing it down, kind of like, okay, so this is my ideal day. Doesn't mean that you need to have that perfect day, but at least you have a structure on how that day is going to make you happy. And then kind of like trying to mimic it, because for everyone it's different. So it's like, how is your ideal day, and working on stacking habits. There is like an amazing book that is called Atomic Habits by James Clear that I recommend you guys all go and get it, because it talks about habit stacking and how can you change your life just by doing that.
Wonderful. I'm going to try that. Writing my ideal day for work and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Aspirational. But good to have the idea of piggybacking off of an already existing routine or an already existing habit. You're already going to do it. It's already hardwired. Go for it.
It's just adding something else. That's how you find time. And you will see that it was bigger in your head. You know?
Yes.
Like, oh, I'm actually doing it, you know?
Always.
Taking supplements is super hard for me, so I stack it after my meals.
Okay.
You know, because that is something that I do regardless. So everything is around the meals for me, I think.
I love it. Yeah, everything that she just said, and also setting little reminders, just drinking water, you know, making sure we're staying hydrated. So setting like 5-6 reminders throughout the day. Let's drink 32 ounces of water, clean water. Also, what I love to do, and I suggest everybody does it, it changes our lives, right? Like in the morning, set your intention for the day. Just come up with a mantra, you know, I am calm, I am present, whatever you want to say to yourself. And then at the end of the day, before you go to bed, instead of watching TV or listening to podcasts that are about murder mysteries, think about what you're gratitude for.
That's me.
What you're really grateful for. Because the thoughts that we have before we go to bed is what we're going to dwell on and would think about at night, and then we wake up in the morning. So really just focus on all the beautiful things that are going on in life. You know, sometimes we get caught up and I have to do this, and this. I got to take care of my kids. I got to go to work. I got to do all these things. But at the end of the day, what is this life for? It's about finding happiness and finding peace, right? So just remembering how grateful you are for everything that you have. And look, you've gone through your entire life, overcome every single challenge that you've ever had, and you're still standing. So you are bigger than any obstacle that could possibly come out in your life. So just focus on that. You got this. You deserve it. You deserve a beautiful life.
There is a practice about gratitude that I wanted to implement this year. I haven't. I will. Is having a jar, and then, you know, like these Post-its that are colorful. So just write down something cool that happened to you during the day, and your family, like the kids, can do like that with you. So you write down what was amazing that day, and then you put it in the jar. And then at the end of the year, you're gonna see all these little colors of cool things that happened to you. So you can see that actually, because we always focus on the negative things. But then when you're seeing that jar filling up through the year, that's just a beautiful thing to do. So I think we should do it.
It's habitualizing gratitude, or habitualizing these amazing things that we can do on a daily basis to get us to a place where emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, we're all balanced. And life just gets better and better.
And I'd like to touch a little bit on this conversation about scheduling, because after, you know, our experts have happily told about any mistakes that they've made, one of the first things that they do with parents is to talk about what their child's schedule looks like. You know, one of the important things to understand about children is that they don't understand time like adults do. 5 minutes means nothing to a 3-year-old. But what they do understand is the sequence. So it's, you know, I wake up, I have breakfast, It's reading time. I go outside. I have lunch. I nap, right? This is how they understand things. And there's a big source of frustration that comes from them when that schedule is disrupted, because they don't, again, it's that element of control and understanding that they just don't have there. But creating a solid schedule for your child that you stick to will make things easier for you, reduce those instances of meltdowns and stress. But it will also give you times when you know that your child is going to be occupied. Either they're going to be napping, or they're going to be playing, or they'll be reading, depending on how old your child is. And those are the opportunities that if you actively, like you're talking about, schedule and, okay, it's nap time, this is going to be my workout. Mm-hmm. You have that time during the day that you know will be available to you, and you can take advantage of that. But I think to your point, not just getting there and saying, okay, what am I going to do now? Because the natural answer, and there's nothing wrong with it, is to say, I'm so tired. I just want to relax. But if there are things that you're looking to do, you have to do them at some point. So finding those times within a well-designed schedule for your child is a really good way to free up time for yourself.
Great. And sticking with you, Mike, piggybacking off of that, do you see any other benefits to parents actively practicing self-care and the associated calm and mindfulness around their children?
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying it tonight, but children are sponges. They absorb what they see in their parents. So as they see you doing these things, they will naturally want to do them themselves, which also is another good way to give yourself time, that if you can involve your children in the things that you're doing, you have that time when you can do them. But that sort of centered approach, that taking a moment to breathe before you act or before you react, is something that children will pick up, they will learn, and they will start to do themselves. And rather than having all the thoughts running through their brains at once, they can focus better on, this is what's stressing me out right now. This is why I'm frustrated. This is what I don't understand. This is why I'm sad, or even, I am sad. I am angry. Right. And they have that time to process it a little bit before they start to feel it. So again, it's that modeled behavior that they're going to pick up and learn by practicing the self-care that we're talking about.
Right, thank you. So as we're wrapping things up here, I think it'd be helpful to not add to parents' mental load, but at least have a sort of mental checklist that will end with self-care being able to be practiced throughout the day and established in the lives for a lifetime, right? For parents, to keep parents on track. So what is one item that each of you would add to, just to tell a parent, okay, maybe put this on your radar, add this to your mental checklist for the day, for the week, for the month. They could check in and have that be proactive towards self-care.
Yeah, sure. So we have something that is called the Super 4. So it's easy to remember.
Okay.
So the Super 4 are going back to basics. So it's a short checklist, but it's touching all the things that we need for self-care. So first is drinking 80 ounces of water a day. So water is one. The second part of the Super 4 is walking at least 30 minutes a day. If you can get 7 to 10,000 steps a day, great. Then having vegetables at lunch and dinner could be part of that. And then the 4 is sleeping, right? Like, I know for you might be challenging. It depends on the phase of parenting you are, but the magic happens when you sleep. Yeah. So making sure that when you can, just get that in, instead of, we have to say goodbye to our friend Netflix, TikTok. Sometimes the time goes just scrolling, and so just prioritizing that, setting an alarm, say, okay, it's time to sleep. So those are the Super 4: water, walking, vegetables, and sleeping. So just easy to remember.
Very easy, very tidy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll add to that. So sunlight, gratitude, and just prioritizing yourself. If we're giving from an empty cup, then we don't have too much to give. If we're giving from a cup that's overflowing, then we can provide so much more into our family's life and into the world.
True.
you.
And I mean, I would say, make sure you take time to check in on your emotions, on yourself, like what you guys are talking about, right? Give yourself that time to see how you're doing before you bring whatever you're feeling to your children, so that you're bringing exactly what you want to bring to them. And I think practically, as you're looking to like set up a self-care routine, I would start to look during your day, where are the major time sinks, right? Where are you spending time that you wish that you weren't on things with your children? And then actively work to reduce those times. Find the strategy that works well for you, but start by creating that checklist so that you have a sense of where you're spending your time and energy.
All right. Any concluding thoughts from our panel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy that we were all able to come together and do this tonight. I know I've learned a lot talking to you guys tonight, talking to you guys over the last couple of weeks as we're getting ready for this. But I think, especially for the people who are watching who are in Jersey City, it's such a wonderful community here. There's so many people that are available to help you and are going through the same things as you. So really look for your community around you. Look for the people who can help you, who can guide you. Look for your village.
Yeah, beautiful. And I would like to say that it's not easy. Mm-hmm. As I told you before, it's a reminder every day. It's a decision, and it is not easy. So don't feel bad when you cannot get it right, because it's a process, it's a practice.
Yeah. Love yourself. If there's anything that any of us can do for you guys, please reach out. We're always here to answer questions, and anybody that attends, we're giving out a free service at Ohm Life. We're going to do the sonic vibration therapy. It's only 10 minutes, so if you don't have time, if you don't have 10 minutes to come in, that's going to be a problem. But we'd love to have you over, and then we're happy to have long conversations about how you can maximize your self-care routines.
All right. Well, thank you to all of our panelists, and thank you so much for viewing today, participating with us, and good luck on your self-care journeys, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.